Okay, welcome back to our course Macroeconomics. What have we done? Until now, we were talking about general, what is economics and especially macroeconomics all about. We had this distinction between normative and positive issues. So if our conviction influences what we are saying, or if we are totally neutral, and in the end, just little comparison between microeconomics and macroeconomics, and some questions we want to answer doing macroeconomics. And I think at this point we were the last time, and now we want to start with one general descriptive concept in macroeconomics, and this is the so-called circular flow of income. And I want to start this part in order that it is not too complicated with a kind of historical view. Where does it come from? And this comes from the development of economics, and especially during the last 300-400 years. One part we had, of course, with the philosophers in UK, and the other part was developing then during the French or before the French Revolution, where also all the sciences have developed, and especially in medicine, and there one find out something about the blood circulation, and then we just say, well, of course, so we are, as a human being, we functioning like this, that something is coming in and something is going out. And then we thought about the societies in the same way. So we are trading with each other, and there's something coming in and there's something coming out. And then if we take the society as a whole, then we classify this society into some sectors. In a modern case, then of course this will be households, enterprises, the government, and so on. And in this historical view, the first time it was done by a French physician called François Quesnay. He was also the physician of the kings through these times in France of Louis XIV, Louis XV, and no, Louis XVI not anymore, and he was already dead. And well, if you look at the society during this time in France, then you have one sector more or less who is producing almost everything in this time. And this was, of course, 300 years ago, the agricultural sector. We will later on see some numbers when we look at the numbers of the agricultural sector within the modern economy, how much this agricultural sector we have done, and there you will see a dramatic drop. So here it is more or less everything was about that we have food for the next day. So we call this agricultural sector the productive sector. And then, of course, they have two production factors. Their own work. This is the labor input, and of course the capital input. And the main capital input when you are producing in the agricultural sector is, of course, land. But this was not the own land of the people in the agricultural sector, but this belonged to the nobleman or the clergyman during this time, and therefore we call them the classe propriétaire. And then during this time, of course, we are just in front of the French Revolution. The civil society becomes more important and more important and more important. But they were, looked at it some kind in something like more in between, and therefore this class was called the class sterile, and therefore we can say just this was the trade, the merchants, or the manufacturing sector, which became more and more important during this time. So we will do it quite easy that we just divide our society in these three sectors, and then we want to talk about what they are doing with each other. Well, then we have to talk about how to expose what they are doing with each other, and there we can use, more or less three forms. And the first of all is, of course, the account form, that we have our active and our passive side. I don't know, did you have modules already in this controlling part that you have used the account forms already? The first 2 semesters, I think so, yeah. Okay, then you know this short. And the other form which is possible is the so-called matrix form, and this will be then classical input-output matrices. So something is coming in, and on the other side it is coming out. So this will be input, output matrices. And the last one is, of course, maybe you have seen something like this already in school, is a graphics form that we take just the arrows, and what happens then we put just the numbers on the arrows. How much we are paying from one sector to the other sector. This is, of course, only the abstract way, and in order to be more precise, we will do a little example. And for this, we start that this productive sector P will produce some commodities with 5 equal to 5 money units. Where we are here? No, here we are. And then this productive sector will, of course, in the agricultural sector, we of course have also to eat something, so we consume by ourselves 2 units, and then we are buying from the manufacturing sector maybe commodities valued by 1 unit. And then, of course, the land does not belong to us in the productive sector, so we have to pay for this 2 units. And for agricultural products, these noblemen, they have to pay 1 unit, and also our class sterile wants something to eat, so they have to pay, or they buy something from the agricultural sector with the value of 2 units. And so this we want to illustrate in the circular form, this circular flow in the account form, matrix form, and the graphics form. Then let's start with this. So copy this. This one. Save and come in here. So in the account form, where do we have to put it? Well, active and passive. We are starting with 5 money units. So we are starting here with our 5 and we are consuming by ourselves too. So more or less then we can say we use this 2 and then we go to our neighbor and we buy from our neighbor too. So this would be then number 1. And now this productive sector, the agricultural sector, is buying manufacturers commodities valued with 1 from our manufacturer sector, from our class stereo. What do we have to do then? We have also to put this one time on the passive side and 1 time on the active side. Where do we start? So keep in mind, we have started that we have earned before 5 units. Yep. Yes. Here, not to S, no? We are in the second case, we are buying from the class sterile. Yeah. Then the rent we are paying to the class proprietaire. Yeah. So then this one up to the class sterile and 1. So we are at 2. Number 3. The land does not belong to us, so we have to pay for it. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we're going up to here, number 3. And then, of course, the nobleman and the manufacturers also want to eat something. Number 4. So this would mean that these noblemen want to eat something valued by 1. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes. So then we are going here. And this is 4 and 5. So our hardworking people, they are also hungry. Oh, sorry, this is an H. This has to be an S. Sorry. Oh, it is. Oh, this I translated, so there we need an S, and this also has to be an S here. And I can, I think, use this one here. Nope. So, no, sorry. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, coming from here as the P, and that is 5. So, and if you take such an account form, which kind of condition do you have if your account form has should be closed? If you're taking your bank account, what is then always the case if you take the left and the right side of your bank account? Yep. Yes, of course. So then have a look if this is the case. In our example here, we have 2 plus 1 plus 2 and 2 plus 1 plus 2. Both is 5. So we can say in this case it is okay. But if we look in here, we have 2 and 1 and of course 1 and 2. So of course then this account form is not closed right now. And because of that, let's think together about what could have also happened in our simple example in order to close our account form that we have at every account on both sides the same numbers. Well, of course, we could think about 10 or 17 different cases, but I think there's one simple one we can assume. Who has to buy from whom? Yep. S. So that you want to go at first here to the right side of S. Then you are increasing the 2. The other way around, yeah. So I think if we take here the 1 and that the noblemen are buying some manufactural goods valued by 1. This would close our account form. So let's say 6E is buying, oh, this always has to be an M here, I think. This is also missing. Oh, M for money. And then in this case also M. M. And M. Okay, so E is buying commodities valued 1 ME from S. So, okay, then let's take the matrix form. No, again. Everything I forgot. So in and out. Should not only copy something. Okay, so let's take that in this horizontal line we go out, and in the vertical line we go in. Then we know what we have to do. This one. And the 6 case also. Up. And let's put it here. I'll make this smaller. A little bit. Yep. Yeah. So the first one. Two units of money are going out from the agricultural sector, and one is going in. Which number has to put in which cell? So if it's the same sector, then I think it's easy to see that it has to be on the diagonal, and therefore 2 out, this case, and of course going directly back in. The second one. They are buying the agricultural sector for 1 unit manufactural goods. So one is going out from the agricultural sector, and 1 money unit comes into the sector S of the manufacturers. Yep. So first horizontal line, second or third? In the third. So we are going out here, and in the third, and in the first column. Yeah. So 1. So this one is going out 1 unit out of the agricultural sector, and it's coming in the class sterile. Then the third, we have to pay as agricultural sectors 2 money units for the rent of the land. Yep. Yes. So we are paying as the agricultural sector. We have to pay the rent. Yeah. So therefore 2 is going out, and therefore it has to be in the first column. And we are paying on, yeah, the last, I think in the middle, or, yeah, yeah, not maybe, yeah, but here. E, this is the class proprietaire, and therefore we have to pay to this sector. So 2 and 3. And then E is buying for 1 money unit agricultural products. So 1 is going out from sector E and going in to sector P. Yep. Yep. So we go in here and 4 and the last one at first, agricultural products are bought by class sterile by the manufacturers, valued 2 money units. Yep. Yeah, definitely. 5. And the last one, in order to close our circular flow, E is buying commodities valued 1 money unit from S. So it's going out again from E, and it's coming in to S. Where do we have to put this number? Yep. Yep. So this would be 6. And now we ask in the account form here, oops, there we had the condition of 2, 1 plus 1 equals 2, and 1 plus 1 equals 2, and here a 2. But every single account is also closed. What would be the decision, the condition if we take the matrix form, which is equivalent to the condition that every single account has to be closed? Any idea? So somewhere we have also to find 2 plus 2 plus 1 and 2 plus 2 plus 1 for the agricultural sector. And where do we find these in this matrix form? Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So we take here the sum of the row. Oops. And this would be then 2 plus 1 plus 2. And the sum of the column here equals 2 plus 2 plus 1. And this is 5. And this is 5. Here, of course, these two sectors do not interchange with themselves anything. And also here we need also a 0 because the class sterile is not paying anything to the class proprietaire. So we have again here our sum equals 2, and here the sum equals 1 plus 1 is 2, and here the sum is 2, and here the sum is 1 plus 1 equals 2. So every column or every sum of the column of a sector has to be equal to the sum of the row of the same sector. And the last one, quite difficult. Let's take the graphics form. Maybe this is also the most easiest form. No, that's not working. So let's copy this and here and also this one. So I think here we can go a bit faster, of course. The first one, we deliver something to ourselves. This would be the 2. And then we are buying as agricultural sector buy from the manufacturing sector. So this would be a 1. The second case, then we have to pay our rent. Again, I have H here, which is wrong. Oh, sorry, this is S, and then we need here an E. Fifth would be the case. So this would be the 2, number 3, and E is eating for 1, and they are eating valued by 2. And the last one, E is buying from S, valued with 1, and this would be then number 6. So, and again the question, what is now the condition? That every single account is closed, that the sum of the rows equals the sum of the columns. What would be in this form the condition? Where can we find it? Yep. Yes, definitely. So let's take just another color. Let's take here red. So we are looking around here. Take just a circle around this sector, and then we look at all arrows which are coming in. And therefore then we have this one in, and let's, so to speak, this one also, where we are paying to ourselves. So this would be 2 plus 2 plus 1, and in green, what is going out? So also, if we pay to ourselves, there's also this 2 going out, and this one is going out, and this one is going out. So we also have 2 plus 2 plus 1. Then let's take what is going out as class propriétaire. So going out is then this one and this one. So this would be 1 plus 1. And what is coming in? This would be then here. So this 2. And in the end, what coming in? This one and this one is 1 plus 1. And what's going out? This one. We are here. Oh. Oh, what has changed here? It's too small. No, it's better. So, of course, this is an historical example. Quite easy. We have only our 3 sectors, and now we want to switch to the modern circular flow of incomes. And there we use in general 4 sectors, and these sectors will be, of course, on the one side, the household sector. This is more or less our demand side. Then we have the sector of our enterprises, and in modern societies, of course, the large sector of government. And we are not alone in the world, and therefore the overseas sector of foreign countries. And then we take the modern circular flow, and this would mean that we are interchanging not only money, we are going also to the capital sector, and this would be then in general the financial sector. And in this financial sector, we have the really important interdependencies of savings and investment. This will be going through the financial sector. And yeah, well, sometimes you find in some textbooks or lectures that this is only the banking sector, but this is, I think, not true, because the financial sector is much larger. You have also everything like a hedge fund, like insurance companies and so on. All this you find in the financial sector. And then, of course, we can say the one part is the money flow, and the other part would be then the flow of goods and services. But if we look at the representation of the circular flow, then always the money flows are meant. This is written down here. And this we were talking about in our example, that we call this circular flow to be closed if any sum of incoming flows equals any sum of the outgoing flows, and this is sometimes called the axiom of the closed circle. Yeah, and then there is a great statistical question: do we really catch every money flow? Of course, in practice, we cannot catch anything, But we think that we have more or less all relevant flows after that found if we represent our economy via this circular flow. And then we will start and try to build up our modern circular flow for a modern economy. I think this has to be a bit smaller. So let's try this, that you can see it. So then we will start with our household sector and the interdependence with our enterprise sector. What interdependence between the enterprise sector and the household sector you can think of? What we are doing as households. Yep. Yes, of course. And do you know how do we call this in an aggregate variable? Buying goods and services? Yes, we are consuming, and therefore we would say there is a money flow. So the goods and services come from the enterprise sector to ourselves, but the money flows from the household sector to the enterprise sector. And this we will call then CH. Consumption of households. Afterwards, you will get also this slide when I have typed it, because we will have many flows here. Okay, then what you can think of, what kind of money is flowing back from the enterprise sector to the household sector? Yep. Yes, labor and then the wages, of course. Yep. So this would be then YHE, and this is then the salary paid by enterprises to households. So I read it again. YHE, salary paid by enterprises to households. Oh, and still too large? So I think now it should work. So on this, more or less, that's it between these two sectors. Then let's take the government stepping inside. What kind of money flows do we have between our enterprise and household sector and the government? Yes, of course, we pay taxes. And this TH, I think we can also already say that hopefully the enterprises pay taxes. not moving their main offices to Luxembourg or Cayman Islands or somewhere else. So TECH, taxes of households, and TE, taxes of enterprises. So what else? The government does not only obtain money, it pays something to us, or also to the enterprises. What can you think of? Well, just make an example where an enterprise or a household gets money from the government. Yep. Okay, but we are right now not already with the financial sector. So loans and saving and investment, this comes in a minute. But a direct, yes, donations or in general that we have some transfer paying. Let's take here our change in the energy sector. Then for the enterprises, you get money if yeah, you are building your so-called windmills and your windcraft or solar craft, and therefore you get transfers. So in general, we will have a flow from the government, in general called then transfers, and that well, we will write ZE in a minute. ZE transfers from government, oops, government to enterprises. What else? Or you had something? Mm-hmm. Of course. And what you this is very much money if we take something like these services. I don't know what you think about. Let's take the transfers from the government to households, unemployment or pensions or something like this. Yes, of course, everything. And this would be then a general transfer from government to households. And this will be called ZH, transfer from government to households. So, but what if we take the government and enterprises again? What is the government also doing? Let's think about how comes this chair inside here in our public university? What is the government then doing? Because this chair then belongs to the Hochschule. The Hochschule is a public university, and therefore, yeah. Yeah, I'm not right now. I'm not talking about the educational service. Maybe the educational service is then what I'm doing today here. Yeah, and this would be then some money flow from the government to me, to myself. There we come in a minute to this case, but providing these chairs inside here. Yeah, pardon? This is a direct buy from the government from some company. So it's more or less the same as we are going into some store and buying goods and services. And therefore it is, yep, yes. Of course, we have also a huge part of government consumption. And then providing these educational service or paying me, this would be then, of course, just salary from the government to the households. And of course, more or less, the state, the government is the largest company in our country. So most people are employed in the public sector. So then we would have here a flow HG. This we put then here YHG, salary paid by government to households. Well, and we do not want to make it too complicated. So we take these interdependencies, and now we are going to the financial sector. This we call financial institutions, more or less. And here all the savings and investment is occurring. So if we go at first to the household sector, there we have in general our decision. We have, let's say, 2,000 euros per month, and then we decide to consume 1,500, and the rest we are putting to our bank account. So this is a classical consumption savings decision. So then we can say, of course, this sector saved something SH. Then, of course, also an enterprise could save something SE. And sometimes the last 10 years, not now anymore, but from 2011 to 2019, the German government really, in an absolute way, saved everything. Every year, something about 10 or 20 billion euros. So in general, also it is possible that the government is saving. And then we have collected all these money in the financial sector, and then we can provide credit, we can make loans, and with these loans we are doing our investment in our economy. So then every sector can go to the financial institutions and asking for loans in order to invest. So from every sector we going back with investment, and of course the enterprise sector with investment, and the household investment. I think here I can just write I and S as investment and savings. So, and in the end, we are not alone in the world, and therefore we go abroad, overseas, and we are just here. And this, of course, there we could think about many flows between our country and a foreign country, but this we will keep quite simple. So we just assume that at first we only buy some products, inputs, as the enterprise as the enterprise sector from abroad, and we um, sell our products abroad. Germany, of course, is selling cars abroad. So we have exports and imports there. And then I just ask you, where do I have to put the exports and imports on the left, or where do I have to put the exports on the left or on the right arrow? Yep. And why? Can you explain it? Because export is going out, and you. Mhm. Okay, and what are the other guys in class thinking about this? That putting here at the outgoing arrow the exports and on the ingoing arrow the imports. Yeah, definitely. It should be the other way around. Okay? Because we are selling the car is going out, but I get the money for the car. And this is always the part that you have to keep in mind that in this case we look at money flows. So let's change this just. So then we have here exports and imports. Then of course we can invest abroad as a household sector and we get something. If we have bought stocks, we get dividends or something like this from abroad. Many single flows are possible, but in general, we just want to say that we have here a net transfer NT from households to the foreign countries. Well, if we take the perspective of Germany, then we can say this number is positive because Germany is from the private sector very much investing abroad. If you take, for example, a development country, a developing country, then this number can, of course, be negative. So exports, imports, and the net transfer from households to foreign countries. Okay, but now we have a problem with our assumption. If we go back in here, that all incoming flows should equal all outgoing flows. And if we go here to overseas, then of course this incoming flow here of net transfers has of course not match the difference between exports and imports. It could be the case, but of course, there is no law that this has to be true. And therefore, if we have there a difference, what changes then in our country? Investment, or we get something from abroad, this changes the capital situation of our country. And therefore, we then have just the flow from the financial sector to abroad. And this has just to be calculated in that way that we really have here all incoming flows equal all outgoing flows. And this is called then the current account. And this has then to be equal. CH is experts are going out, so experts have to go in. Imports are going in the overseas sector, so it has to be go out, but here we have the arrow direction into the overseas sector, so we have to write here minus imports and net transfers. Of course, it could be a positive or negative number, but we have drawn this with the arrow direction in this way, and therefore we have also minus net transfers. So, and yeah, this is then more or less in other textbooks. Maybe you find a bit more of these arrows or less, but this is then the modern circular flow with the important money flows you have in general. And especially if we look at this part here, then here you have more or less the very important conditions that at this financial sector we have more or less the condition that investment equals savings. So if we omit this part, then of course all the S comes in and all the I goes out. Then you have the direct equal sign there, and then you can say there you have the little distortion with the interdependence with the overseas sector with foreign countries. But this is of course also on the if it is if it's plus, it's an investment, and if it's minus, you have a saving. Okay. Then another descriptive concept, because from somewhere we need to know all these numbers here. Where does it come from? And this is the so-called national account system. What is the national account system about? The national accounts, there we just want to provide the information in order to analyze the structure of our economies and the development over time. And this, of course, contains a very wide range of statistics. All these numbers here you can find if we go back. I think I gave you here the links to the institutions and especially the national accounts you find here at the statistical institutes or, of course, at the central banks. So all these institutions provide the statistics for the national account. And what we want to do with all these numbers in the end, we want to aggregate this to one famous number, and this famous number then should represent more or less our total economy, and this is then in order to calculate general domestic product, and this information then we use for forecasting or for international comparisons. And I think today there will be a quite famous forecast, the so-called Gemeinschaftsdiagnose for Germany. And what I have already heard is that they also make a forecast that we will have a recession for the next 2, 3, or 4 quarters in Germany. So there will be hard times coming up. Oh, again, my German. Oops, this is out. So, and in order that we can do here a good comparison between our countries, for this national account system was standardized some 20 or almost 30 years ago. So if you look at the numbers for GDP from France or Germany, or even also it is standard in the European context, but more or less the United States, they calculate it in quite the same way. So it is worldwide standardized so that you can really then make a true comparison between the pro-domestic countries, between different countries. Okay, done. 10:30. Then let's start. Just what is the gross domestic product? Still, yeah, the most important aggregate number if you want to describe a country. It is quite often criticized, and at this point I always say, well, it is the worst number you can get without any other numbers. So give me a better number, then we will do it, but I don't think that anybody has found right now a better way to describe economic performance in an aggregate way. But of course, we have to keep in mind there is not everything within these numbers, and these we will also see. And of course, you can criticize only looking at economic growth. Okay, so the definition. Gross domestic product, GDP, is the total market value of the finished goods, and this is quite important, finished goods and services produced within a country in a specific time period. And in general, if you talk about GDP of one country, then you mean 1 year. But in general, you have data for a quarter also. You don't have data for month, but you have also data for quarters. But in general, if you ask what is the GDP of the United States, then you mean what is the GDP of 1 year in the United States. Well, and there, if you look especially at this part here, within a country, borders, there, if you look what defines a country, then of course, maybe from the geographical view, you can say it's just the area of the country. But there you can also have another concept in an economic way, which also makes sense, because who is producing anything in the country? These are the people who are living in the country. And this is a difference between the domestic concept. So let's take just a fence around our country and looking what is produced inside this area, or we just ask what are the people in the country or the inhabitants of the country are producing. And this is the so-called national concept. And then you have only here this difference and everything else is the same. So if citizens of a country, what do they have produced? And there you can, of course, think of, we are here quite close to the Dutch border, that somebody is living here and he is moving every day to Groningen or somewhere else and is working there. Then he counts in the national concept, but he doesn't count in the domestic concept. Yeah. Yes. Then he counts in the national concept, but but he doesn't count for the gross domestic product. Yeah. So for Germany, yeah, it matters, but it is the numbers do not differ very much. Can you think of countries where it differs quite a lot? Yep. USA? So it could be, but you can also think of that many countries from abroad or many people from abroad are also producing in the United States. So for the United States, since they are also the largest economy in the world, they are also, if you take these numbers going out and the numbers going in, then you have also almost the same. Well, if you go, for example, to in Europe, and you take, for example, Luxembourg, a very small country, and what is Luxembourg doing? Many, especially financial institutions are there. So if you take Luxembourg, there are more or less as much people as they have inhabitants are moving every day inside this country. So, for example, Luxembourg differs very much between GDP and GNP. And we have another candidate there. It is not the case because of all the people who are moving in, but this also is this concept is of course also relevant if you have the companies, if it is a German company or if it's a company from abroad, and therefore it's Ireland. And Ireland, they have very low taxes for companies, and therefore, especially the big tech companies from the United States. They have their Europe head office in Ireland, and therefore very much money is moving in there from outside because of these countries, because of these companies, and therefore you have also a large difference for Ireland in GDP and GNP. Has also a large difference between GDP and GNP because of many foreign companies and there, for example, tech companies from USA. So if you have a look, Apple, Facebook, and so on. They have their Europe main office in Ireland, and this is because of the very low taxes there. They pay, yeah, something like half of it they would pay in other European Union countries. Okay, then I think that it is for today, and next week we are going on what is GDP about, and then we are also going on what are the numbers for GDP and how we can calculate GDP. So, thank you very much for today.